But what if you could have people do the work they're familiar with doing and have the agents help them be more effective in doing that, have one brand presence out there, not 1,000 different versions of it, and free people up to run quickly and do more of what they love doing in marketing.
Welcome to the Lessons for Tomorrow podcast. Think of the show as the motivational poster in your ear. Each episode features lively conversations with technology and marketing leaders about what's changing now and what's coming next. We'll unpack what's working, what leaders are rethinking, and how they're planning for the future. Every guest brings a different story, a different perspective, and a different approach. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with others. Let's jump into the episode.
I'm your guest host, Rex Paisley. In this episode, we're diving into the ways that AI is being applied to digital success today. We have two excellent guests to help us do exactly that. Guy Yalif from Webflow and Tim Ahlenius from AmericanEagle.com. Guy, Tim, welcome.
Morning.
Thanks for having us.
Excellent to have you here. So Guy, Webflow has been certainly at the forefront of integrating AI strategies for quite a while now. Could you please share a little bit about your role there and in your background that led you to Webflow?
Happy to. I was an AI coding aerospace engineer and then made the straight line to CMO as one does. I spent 15 years in ad tech through CMO, and then 10 years ago had the privilege of co-founding and CEOing an AI website personalization company that Webflow bought 2 years ago. Webflow has a CEO and a CMO, so my made-up job is Chief Evangelist, which means being out in the field, talking to CMOs all the time, which is an incredible thing to have the privilege to be able to do in this moment with agents and AI impacting everything we do and all of our learning curves being like this.
Well, certainly a great person to have on this discussion today, so thank you for being here. And Tim, certainly AI is a huge, huge, broad topic, and when some think of it, they think agentic AI, and others think of the generative AI, and there's so many permutations. Could you share a little bit of an introduction to your role at AmericanEagle.com and what you're seeing in agentic AI specifically, and to client strategies and solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rex. So, Tim Ahlenius, VP Strategic Initiatives at AmericanEagle.com. Kind of been through every role, worn every hat in web development, digital marketing, and business consulting and strategy. So that naturally led me into jumping into the AI pool immediately. I guess you feel like you want to say it's only been like 2 years, but it's really been 6 years or so. And the fun thing about AI is that we were doing a lot with aspects of what the base of AI was, with machine learning and predictive recommendations and analysis. What AI brought to us was a faster to market experience, but also a higher consumer adoption of the solution when ChatGPT first came out, and then it's going to just grown exponentially since then. Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, etc. So with my role, what I help do is look at the opportunities that we have for AI services, where that comes into strategically planning that inside of our clients' organizations, both from a front-facing customer experience, but then also internally where business operations can be more efficiently completed or can be used for a more scalable model when they want to add either new services, do deeper analysis, whatever that may be. So where agentic AI really came into play was with regards to the ability to create different agents of different sizes to complete tasks that are routinely done. I always think about it at what is a common task that you do every day that if you could hand it off, what are the steps that you need to do to complete that? A lot of that is analysis. Some clients that we're working with are doing it from an invoice validation perspective, where they have to pass it from the customer, they have to put it into their systems, then they have to validate it with a supplier. And so there's a lot of manual operations that can be assisted by AI. So it's human-led, but AI operated or agent operated. And so with that approach, Agentic has now given us the opportunity, as AI has kind of evolved very quickly, to build different agents, but we can have them call each other. So you can really build a specific skilled agent and then have that agent be used in a kind of team of agents or by a team of people as well. So agentic AI is definitely one of the areas where AI can be utilized. Then you still have Gen AI, and you have other deeper models where AI is now helping with code development and helping write code, write copy, etc. So that generative side is also another big play. And then the creative side too, right? So image generation, video generation, all of us have probably seen some aspect of AI generated content. It's unfortunately all over social or being overused at times when it really needs to be validated. So that's why we like to have a human in the loop element with any AI work that we do.
Excellent. Well, we certainly want to get into all of that. And I heard you talk about steps and how brands are considering their AI adoption and steps. Guy, when we were speaking earlier, you had mentioned that Webflow has really 4 leading considerations for AI implementation. Maybe could you speak to those 4 considerations for us?
Absolutely. We think, and I'm really happy the team is building this way, that so Webflow is an agentic web marketing platform. And so we are building AI into the existing workflows people have, asking them questions they're familiar with answering, tuned to the task at hand, because like summarizing an experiment or translating copy or designing a page are all different tasks. And then ensuring it is brand safe because it's context aware. Those 4 things come together to really elevate everybody's AI fluency by, frankly, not aspiring to need them to learn as much. If they want to, by all means, they can, right? You can go become an expert prompter. I taught a prompting 101 course internally. But what if you could have people do the work they're familiar with doing and have the agents help them be more effective in doing that, have one brand presence out there, not 1,000 different versions of it, and free people up to run quickly and do more of what they love doing in marketing.
So when it comes to marketing and those digital presences, it certainly starts with the content on websites and other channels. Can you maybe speak to the ways that people are using LLMs, generative AI, to scale content efforts to lift their brand?
100%. We see people happily not succeeding with just spanning out, just as Tim was talking about, a whole bunch of AI generated, not human reviewed stuff. Our friends at Graphite looked at zillion OpenAI citations, and 85% were either human or human plus some LLM. We ourselves are seeing the positive impact of that. And by we, I mean Vivian Huang, who runs our SEO AEO team, worked with our friends at AirOps to 5x the speed of refreshing our content. And we learned and saw, hey, 95% of ChatGPT citations were updated in the last 10 months. Okay, that 5x speed increase resulted in 42% more traffic in a couple of months. Like, okay, who wouldn't want that? And of course, traffic went up, so conversion rate went down. No, the conversion rate went up 14%. And so we are seeing folks, just as Tim was saying, marry the human with the LLM, whether it's an LLM directly, an agent, a whole workflow. We very consciously are marrying that with a lot of brand awareness so that you aren't going to break the brand and you stay on voice to go deliver more content that's genuinely valuable to their prospects, which ultimately results in them showing up in answer engines more often.
Yeah, and I think, Guy, that answer engine optimization is one of the biggest areas that we've been working with a lot of clients on as well, where we have so many of the standard consumers who are going to AI first now instead of Google. It's kind of replaced the element of go Google that, it's go AI that with ChatGPT or whatever, pick your AI of choice. And they're trusting that so much more now. And then even Google noticed that. So over a year ago, they then started having the Gemini AI response become that leading first experience. And that 0-click experience then for the traffic through Google to your website was because that AI was starting to pull that content in. People trusted that immediately. So how do we make sure that your content is optimized into that AI response and output? And that's where all that generative engine optimization, answer engine optimization, there's so many acronyms for one similar thing. It's fun, but with that, that's where we see a lot of the same best practices for search engine optimization, SEO, from the past, and quality content, structured content on a site. That's not that you just optimize for AI, but you're still doing all the same things from that content optimization perspective on a site, but now you're focusing some of it to be a bit more structured. We're seeing a lot more of FAQ style structure being really preferred by the AI engines. And so with that, that's where I think how Webflow allows for that, how you're planning the opportunity for people to look at their content and structure it the right way for that. That's that continuing evolution of website platforms that allow you to both be found, whether it's a regular web search or whether it's an AI search.
That resonates so very strongly. And ultimately, whether it's AEO, GEO, AIO, or pick your acronym, as you were describing, you want to show up where your prospects are looking. You want them to come to you and either, enter the funnel or buy a product. That's the job. And we invite folks to think about it very much in line with what you're describing. We too see the same thing, that AEO is very close to SEO, what good SEO should have been. Like the Venn diagram has a heavy overlap, and that the distance between SEO to AEO, we think about it in 4 buckets. The first is content, just as you were talking about. And in content, we think the biggest shift is like the topics, which were represented as clusters of keywords. Now those topics are clusters of questions that your prospects are asking. And the LLMs have great signal from that, because when we all learned to speak Google, our keywords, like our average query was 4 words long. Now with LLMs, it's 23 words long and growing. And so you can run an LLM over your sales call recordings, over your emails, and see, okay, here are the questions they're asking. How do I ensure I'm answering those with the goal of having me have the content that's similar to the thing the LLM's being asked? Okay. 2, on technical, it's exactly what you said. We too see that structure it's hard to overestimate actually how valuable it is. Why? Because the LLMs are constantly thinking, how expensive is it for me to crawl, ingest, and understand the meaning of your content versus how good is it? Okay, you're going to do your best to make this good. Make the cost as low as possible. And you can do that in the content with like bulleted lists, table of contents, one H1, and then structured H2, H3, H4. You also can do it with the SEO metadata we all should have, but don't always have. Alt text, where the LLMs, like, it's super expensive for them to crawl the actual video or the actual image, but the alt text and the transcript, that they will go to town on. And 3, schema, just another form of metadata to help LLMs understand, oh, here's a product page, here's a bio page, here's a company page. By the way, Webflow auto-generates all of those for you. In authority, we see the transition. It's not transition from, that's wrong. It's expansion from backlinks, which still matter, to now LLMs. They're wired to look for popularity and consensus. And so plain text mentions everywhere matter a lot, which means that brand is back, because brand causes us to speak consistently. And PR is back because it gets us showing up everywhere. And the 4th category is measurement, where you go from keyword ranking to, did I show up in the answers to the questions I care about, to what was my share of voice, and then some qualitative measures that didn't exist with Google because it used our words. And those are like, what was my message pull through? How accurate was what was shown? What was sentiment? And so building exactly on what you said, Tim, we invite people to think about SEO to AEO as content, technical, authority, and measurement. How does that land for you?
Yeah, no, completely agree, Guy. And I would say the big thing there is you hit the nail on the head with brand is back, where so much of SEO previously was then that backlink strategy and the keyword strategy, the clusters, the topics, the content page creation, right? All of that's still important, still to be followed. But at the same time, brand is so much more important, because how do you reflect a brand in a non-visual interface with an AI conversation? And so now your brand authority, brand trust is a completely different story that has to be told, but also understood by that AI for what it's outputting. And even more so now, and we've talked to a lot of our clients about this, when we look at, well, how do you appear in an AI search? When you look for your products, what's coming up? Are you controlling that story? Are you not? Right. So now we're back to a brand narrative that needs to be monitored and controlled, because we don't just have that trusted brand logo that some people have. A lot of times, some other supporting content could actually be benefiting you more in an AI response and output than your own. How do you discover those and look to, optimize and maximize on that opportunity of, well, they wrote some really good things about us, or they wrote some negative things about us. So it does become much more, to your point, like not only the brand side, but then the PR side of how are we now looking at our brand, its perception through the AI lens. And that's a really critical one to add into monitoring services and monitoring your brand. So I think, love the breakdown, love the 4. And I really think that our clients, Webflow's clients, need to be focused on how they look at adding measurable metrics from the AI side. There's a lot out there that say that they do all these things. You got to dig into them. Our team's done a lot of that research too, of which ones are reputable, which ones are saying they do it, and how much can you, validate that metric itself. But it's getting out there and testing it too. What are your customers asking inside of an AI? Being able to bring that back to the forefront of, even to your point about analyzing internally, like take call center recordings, analyze those. What are people asking there that we should be writing content for if we don't have it on the website itself right now? So there's so much that this has opened the door to additional utilization of existing material and content, which is, I think, incredible. And it's also faster today because of AI.
Tim, you touched on the fact that everything we've talked about is our websites and how the content is shaping LLM representation and discovery on our websites. There are also places outside of our own websites that define our brand and are influencing those LLMs. Could you speak to some of those other influences on brand that are outside of our websites that are our own owned media?
Yeah. So the nice thing that we're seeing is the opportunity for clients to work on content strategies that are beyond just your own website. Your social media channels are all influential into the content you post there and what AI might pull in from those. Reddit has been an incredible actual site for optimization of content, because that's allowing us to see, again, structured data within a Reddit post and thread is being pulled up quite often in the majority of AI responses and outputs to people's questions. And so when we start to see those patterns, that's where we start to look at, okay, from a content strategy or optimization perspective, here's how we want to move forward into, is this channel right for your brand? That's the other question to keep in mind. It's just because it's working doesn't mean you should, if it's not going to be for your industry or your audience. And I think this is one of the best things that I've seen some great utilization of AI for, is understanding beyond the standard marketing persona sheet of the past, of actually going out and analyzing the content of who your actual audience is, what channels are they using. There's a whole onslaught of data that we now have to help define audience that we didn't have before. Or you can use AI to help analyze all your customer data records to say, okay, what is the true audience I have versus what we came up with in a marketing strategy meeting? And those are still practices that are good to understand, but we can now support them with data so much faster than before. And Guy, I'd be interested in your thoughts on audience definition through AI and what you're seeing as well at Webflow.
I think, to your point, we have so many additional signals and are able to synthesize them in ways we weren't before. And the key is to be able to then be able to action them and iterate rapidly. I feel like it's all a return, because this is a new medium, answer engines. It's a bit of a return to like the scientific method, which if we're candid with ourselves, that's what we do in paid media all day long. That's what we do in conversion rate optimization. That's what we do in marketing overall. We have a hypothesis, we go test it, we see did it work, and then we allocate more budget or less, more time or less. I feel like this is the same, where the ability to iterate through things quickly, whether it's audience definition or adding schema to your site or trying to get someone else's mention of you to be more accurate and up to date with your current positioning. All of those are experiments you want to run. We recently launched AEO measurement specifically so that you can close that loop. So you can say, hey, I've got this hypothesis. I can go make this change with an engineer or on my own as a non-coding marketer, stay on brand, then go measure, did it work? Then have AI recommend to me, hey, based on those results, here's the next thing you could try. Want me to go implement that? And you can really speed the cycle of learning so you can see, hey, is that audience information actionable? Is this a good channel? And make your existing material more valuable, touching on a bunch of the things you said. You also mentioned Reddit and thinking, hey, is this or are other channels good for me? And I invite folks to go be guided by, okay, you picked your topical clusters and the questions that you want to be the answers for. Just go run those queries, see what shows up. Like Reddit is a place where ads are fine, normal marketing speak. But if you go there with normal marketing speak organically, you will get flamed. It is a community that does not tolerate that well at all. It's a place where you need to be ready to say things that most marketers aren't ready to say, like, we got that wrong. We're not good at that. We will go fix that. We're sorry. Like those are things that if you're not willing to go do, you probably want to stay on the paid side. And don't even think about it if it's not showing up in the answers you are thinking about. Same for any other channel. Reddit just happens to be, to your point, dramatically increased in importance with the LLMs because they see it as authentic human content. So's YouTube, so's Quora, so's G2 and others. Does that land for you?
Oh,
Tim?
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important to understand that paid versus organic aspect of the channel from a marketing perspective. And you're absolutely right, Guy, that the willingness to be 100% transparent is critical if you're going to be on Reddit and posting, because that is the place that you will get flamed immediately if you have that, marketing speak going in and you're just trying to just ingest into it to get your brand there. You will quickly find that's not the right approach overall. So I think the big thing that I would say is, as we're looking at the opportunity of where AI and the channel impact is beyond your website, it's everywhere. And I think we've been talking very focused on the outward aspect of when someone's using AI to find out about your brand. I think that another topic I'd love to, explore a little bit more, Guy, is how we're seeing actual end users in the business side use AI for their day-to-day. And I think that you just hit on that a little bit here with, that scientific method is definitely, I think, much more utilized now, that AI is speeding up that response of both. I think about personalization work for websites, right? And what I've done in personalization and marketing too, I don't want to limit it to a website, but email marketing flow or personalized ads, et cetera, right? Retargeting, all of them apply. But when we used to do personalization strategies in the past, it was a big workshop. We'd plan it out. We'd have multiple variations. Then we'd have to go build it and then set it up, launch it, okay, get the data back. You'd have some of that analysis happening in the back end of the reports, but you still had to kind of look at it. And then you would come up with the next set of content to then personalize based off of those results. That was a process. So you had a lot of businesses interested in it, but then the project would just fall off because other priorities would take place. And that was just too manual of an effort, even with some of the tools that were out there. Now with AI, to your point, Guy, where we now have that same scientific process. I can put my hypothesis out there. If I do this, this will happen. I'll increase click-throughs or whatever it is, right? Multiple metrics that we can track. But now we have AI that helps with placement, helps with the content for that location, can help in some cases with actually creating that variation for you, or auto-selecting so you don't even have to go back and make selections, right? So I'm intrigued what you guys are seeing of that use by end users in the business side and what that's done for their effectiveness in their day.
It's been humbling and eye-opening to watch the journey people have gone on. We watch them able to operate, to your point, this long process just getting compressed. so that they deliver pipeline and revenue that much more quickly and stay on brand, that they are able to just execute faster.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it in a few ways. One, I feel like there's this AI fluency pattern I keep seeing where you go from, as a company, irrespective of Webflow, you know, uh, am I allowed to touch these things, play and experience them, focus play on business goals, automate parts of my job, automate them at superhuman levels so I can focus on the stuff I love doing, and then true transformation of the workflow. I think a lot of ink is being spilled up here,
Mm-hmm.
but real life is happening here for the large majority. What I see practically, you hit the nail on the head. Personalization is a great example. And Webflow optimized, people can take their existing creative, just as you were talking about before, say, here are the behaviors I care about, take all the contextual info they have about somebody, and have the machine do a better job of
Mm-hmm.
listening to behavior and showing people the things that are valuable to them, that they are reacting to. You are actually creating a better experience, doing it on the fly automatically.
Mm-hmm.
We see others where folks are going to their, LLM of choice, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever it might be, and saying, I want 10 blog posts on this. I would like them AEO
Mm-hmm.
optimized. I would like to post them now. And doing it there and through an MCP server, as we all
Mm-hmm.
know, an API, for an LLM,
Mm-hmm.
having all that just appear in Webflow and reviewing the content as a human. The last example I'll share is, it is incredible and amazing to be able to create these things that quickly. And the vibe coding stories are amazing. One thing we're seeing a lot of is there's real distance between that and production.
Yes.
And so in the work we've been doing, we've really been focused on what you create is production ready, and you could put out there for your brand out in the wild, representing your brand. Very, very different than what you might do, in an hour or an afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
that might get some ink on LinkedIn. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Does
absolutely.
that
And
land for you?
oh, yeah, it does land, and a little too close sometimes because we get a lot of questions now about someone who's vibe coded and says, "Well, I just built that in half a day or in a week. We built what we're looking for," and so AI is like reducing the cost towards production. I go, AI is helping you understand what you can do, and it helps get you there a little bit faster. But the vibe coding to production, to your point, right? There's still steps along the way from a best practices, a security, a data privacy that when I hear vibe coding, I'm all for it. I'm doing it myself too. A lot of our team members enjoy looking at what we can see built faster, but we have to make sure that we're still being disciplined in all of the best practices, data privacy, et cetera. And that's where I wish, the world would fully understand that outside of the, development world of where, yes, we want to use it, but it doesn't mean that it changes everything of getting something launched that much faster without some of these steps still being included. It does accelerate. I don't want to get the story, I don't want people to take the story the wrong way. It accelerates definitely. And I think it gets us to seeing what's possible faster. And it also aids in getting that to production faster, but we can't skip steps because of it.
Yeah, speed is not the only goal of adopting
Yeah.
AI into your digital solutions, and there's certainly guardrails. And so Guy, how are you seeing brands approach those guardrails so we can do responsible adoption of AI within our digital practices?
So I think we're hitting on the key thing. Ultimately, you want to enable people to run quickly to market, to go drive pipeline, but do so in a way that stays on brand,
Mhm.
do so in a way that is safe, do so in a way that is well governed with the reviews that are needed. In my humble opinion, that is the key missing thing. Tim, it's exactly what you were talking about. And so I think it super duper helps in visualizing what's possible. Like you were saying, the fidelity of the communication between our product managers and our designers and our engineers has gone up a ton
Mhm.
because of Gen AI. They're able to bring something to life with more texture, more color than they could just with a set of words. Great. But then in our product, we help people, create a page, create content, create a whole site, but ensure it's on brand, ensure they aren't going to break the site technically, ensure they've got the approvals they need. And when they're generating new things, ensure they don't have 1,000 different versions of their brand. And so we have this concept of a design system where you share, here are my fonts, here are my colors, here's the spacing, here are reusable components, here are whole page templates, so that people can live within the boundaries of the brand. You free them up to run more quickly. It's like a growth team's dream, because ultimately they're like, hey, I need to go deliver a number.
Yeah.
If I'm off brand a little bit, like, so be it. Sorry, I'll ask for forgiveness, not for permission. Now you don't have to have a whole lot of the typical friction between them and the brand team. It's like, no, hold on. I want to review everything you put out there. Now they get to live in a playground where they get to fully run without ever being able to break the brand. And I think that mental model, it happens to be one that Webflow has built in directly, is the right one in general, not just because I work for Webflow. I think it is the right approach. And I think it is, to take a step back as an individual, not as Webflow, like, I think it is the right marriage of SaaS and LLMs, right? Like, you still need security, you still need the governance, you still need those things. And to figure out how to have those two work together, in my humble opinion, is actually where all of us will end up going. I don't know if that lands for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that goes to some of the agents, as we talked about at the beginning, as well, where we're looking at validation agents, right? So whether that's brand validation, whether that is data and privacy validation, security validation, where if someone is requesting something, whether it's an internal agent or an external facing agent for a business, that agent from a validation or security perspective can help aid in making sure that those guardrails are being met. But it eliminates the need for that human to 100% be involved. They still need to be involved at the output of what that agent is saying, but it speeds up the process, to your point, Guy. And I think that the big thing here, and Rex, you use the word I use a lot, is guardrails, right? I call it the freedom within guardrails, right? So we're giving you some space on the road, but we're not letting you completely go off-roading right now, right? So it's keeping to your point, Guy, about the brand aspect, right? Brand still being followed. I think that AI, especially Gen AI, has the tendency to let brand narrative, brand messaging start to go a little askew if you don't also train that in. So that's another opportunity that we have with a lot of the tools, where you can actually tell the AI, this is my brand, here's the colors, here's the style guide, but also here's my brand voice. And what's amazing is when you have a team of writers or marketers inside of a brand, as much as you have a brand voice in the past that allows you to give them guidance, they still wrote in their own style. And even with an editor, like you would get little variations. I think that's the one thing AI has also brought, is this consistency to brand that allows that voice to be uniform and consistent across every piece of content that's created when you use it that way. And also lets you differentiate it to your different audiences even faster than before. Because a lot of times that time wasn't available. You couldn't have a content writer, copywriter create 5 different audience messages in the same time frame that they can today if they have an AI agent assisting them. So again, human-led, agent operated, that's where I see this really growing and expanding the possibilities for people today, but within guardrails.
I'll add one other thing. I couldn't agree more. And I think I really like without going too far off road, I think a lot about the concept of speed with safety. It's another way of saying the exact same thing, and that it is so even more important now because you let 1,000 people write with an LLM, and you will have 1,000 different versions of your brand. One thought, and the other, you were talking about the personalizing by different audiences. Gosh, I think it is. Been the goal of marketing since the beginning of mass marketing, right? Since 100 years ago, to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time. And I think we have the ability now with our existing content, and then further personalized using Gen AI, to go meet people where they are in their funnel based on what they have told you, so that you are genuinely more valuable to them and are helping them find the things that they want and need. It saves everybody a bunch of time. You'll save your sales team a bunch of time. You'll save your prospects a bunch of time. And being able to action on the data you have and bring the right things to bear resonates super strongly.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've covered so much ground when it comes to AI and its application to digital solutions today. I'm just wondering for that brand who wants to maybe walk before they run, what are you seeing as far as quick wins for some clients in dipping their toes into AI and generating some momentum with that?
Yeah. For me, and Guy definitely jump in too, but a lot of it has been refocused on they're not quite ready to have that external customer facing AI yet for a lot of the clients I've worked with. They want to start internally because they really want to understand the security and accuracy for that. There's been plenty of stories. You can go out and Google or AI that, and you can look for what has happened when businesses push it out too quickly. With that though, what we're seeing is that there's so much that's done internally, and I want to address there's a lot of fear and a lot of clickbait that people have out there that AI is going to cause this massive job loss and all this. AI is going to assist everyone to be able to do more faster, do more better. And I want to make sure that that's highlighted because if you embrace AI in the right spots, it is going to be a supporting tool in your toolbox for your career. It's not going to replace everything within a career. And when you embrace it and learn it and you start simple, right? What are tasks that I do every day that could be trusted to be done by an agent or by AI? That's where I think you really have to come in from that perspective of how to start using it. And there's a lot of different ways, even if you're doing simple marketing things. When are the best, do analysis of your audience, use AI to help define some new ideas. I love it as a brainstorming companion. It gives me new ideas that maybe I'd get to eventually with research, but it's faster for me. So I love using it from that perspective. Or, hey, how would I phrase this differently for this audience? And it gives me some variations. But at the end of the day, you still have to be utilizing common sense in the output of it and not just blindly trusting it that it's exactly what it should be. So that's kind of, introing it small is look internally first, but then look externally. Are your customers ready to adopt an AI chatbot? Where are they at in their AI journey that, yes, it is appropriate to release it to them? That's kind of where I'd start for telling a business, hey, start internal, then start to look external where appropriate. Don't just put AI out there to have AI and say you have it. Don't check a box, make it purposeful. Guy, I'm interested in your thoughts too on that.
I am very, very aligned. In the AEO lens of it, I would humbly suggest if folks have their SEO fundamentals in place, go answer questions and go add schema to your site. Those two things. In AI fluency more broadly, Tim, I'm very aligned with some notion of crawl, walk, run. I think starting small, I'm aligned with you that it's often personal productivity, internal, that ends up being the place to begin. And in my humble opinion, the goal as we're helping our teams through this early on is to have each person have their own aha moment where, okay, I've read all these magical things it can do, but it didn't do that for me because they one-shotted something without context. To have them experience it, be like, wow, that was genuinely useful. To give them the curiosity to fuel the inevitable frustrations as they come up to speed on like, okay, if I'm building on my own, I need to go put a bunch of context. I need to go learn a bunch of new things. It'll fuel the curiosity to transition from this is just straight magic 100% to this is magical. You need to fuel the magic in the right ways. And then in my humble opinion, I could not agree with you more, Tim, that transitioning from automation to this is a brainstorming thought partner is a huge step forward. And to help that at Webflow, as some examples, I created two things. One was a chief of staff for our marketing team, in the AI one, where it would plug into all your email, calendar, and so on, and it would help you do some mechanics just as we're talking, prep for a meeting, do a status update, and so on. And then it would be a thought partner for you.
Yeah.
And I was explicit that, right? I was like, this one is where the bigger unlock is, just as you're saying. And the other one, which genuinely surprised me, was Boss GPT. It happens to be a Claude project, but go through all of my emails, DMs, public Slacks, G Drive, calendar with my boss and go create a profile of them. What do they react positively to? How do they react when they're stressed, when they're energized? And 8 dimensions, nothing magical about 8. That's what ended up coming out of building this. Oh my God. Like, to me, that was level 5, the automating and superhuman levels, because the data's always been there. For me, it changed how I interact with my boss the next day. I now use it to, like, how do I frame something? How long or short is it? What energy do I bring to it? When do I send it? And I think everybody should want this, because my boss happens to be a guy. He has better interaction with me. He uses it with his. He said, "Oh my God, that makes it so much better for him." Other people are using it, and to me, the Boss GPT itself isn't a thing. This was always sitting there, but it improved our human interaction and made us more effective. That to me is the pattern that is like one of the steps of the big unlocks.
Yeah.
Does that land for you?
Oh, absolutely. And I love that example, because that's one that I haven't thought of it from the boss perspective, but we've used it from the audience perspective. So when you identify your primary, secondary audiences, take the survey data, take all that information. What is the messaging that resonates the best? And again, we had some of that analysis in the past with different digital marketing tools, but we didn't have the speed of analysis that we have today now. And then also variations of that. So like you said, the sentiment of how you should be writing, does it need to be very positive? Does it need to be direct? Like, all of that comes into play, whether internally, like you just talked through, Guy, which resonated greatly for me, but then also externally, as you start to look at how you can use that to aid in your communication and messaging as a brand. Do they care about all the brand like announcements and all of that? If not, then here's the factual product information, or here's, what new services have been resonating with what types of clients? How do I now attract more of those? It expands the opportunity for really narrowing in to what matters and delivering on that faster.
Being relevant to those answers that your audiences are seeking out there.
Yeah.
So the answer engine optimization. So,
yeah.
Is there anything else as it relates to AI in digital solutions today that you think is important for us to be lifting up today?
Too much for the length of this podcast. I think Guy and I could probably go on for hours on different opportunities of where AI comes in. I'll kind of kick off here, and then definitely interested in your guys' thoughts. But for me, I think that where we see AI coming in, I just had this conversation the other day with a client. AI is exponentially increasing the speed of what we can do, which is amazing. This is why I love being in technology, is it's constantly changing. It used to constantly change at a pace that I feel I could keep up with better. Now it's a pace that it's like, whoa, okay, there's a new model every other week or every day, depending on which one you're using. For me, it's looking at it as it's been a great initial, as Gartner talks about, right? The hype cycle, right? We're at that peak, and we're going to see where we're coming down to the trough of disillusionment and all of that. But for me, it's the understanding of while we're applying AI in so many different aspects of a business, it's the ongoing maintenance of AI and realizing what that means as a business that is implementing it. Models are changing fast. Are the solutions you're building, the agents you're building, scalable into future models? While AI can help scale them, you will have still that standard software development maintenance lifecycle that's going to come into play here. And I feel so many people are like, well, AI is just solving for that. Just plan for AI and it's going to take care of itself. Well, we still have all of that maintenance that's required. So to me, it's the understanding that while we have all these incredible things that we can do with it, there is still a maintenance aspect that we have to keep in mind, and growth.
Which
I don't want to just
like still takes human thought.
It still takes human thought, and it can be assisted by AI, but it's something that you can't forget about, because when you start to build something, if you built something on AI a year ago, you could have so many new things unlocked with the latest model potentially that optimizes that output even more, or increases the accuracy of the outputs, or whatever it may be. So while it's incredible at the speed of keeping up with it is something to keep in mind as you're planning out what you're implementing AI into, and what that review process is to say, hey, we know that we need to leave this up for 6 months, and then we're going to reevaluate with the latest models what could be done next.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
So it's more that ongoing maintenance roadmap planning that comes into play versus just, hey, we've got an agent, great, it's going to do its job, and we don't have to touch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wish that was the case, but unfortunately it's not. But Guy, your thoughts?
Yeah, Guy, how are you and Webflow keeping up?
Rex, I strongly agree with Tim again, and I think it's valuable for all of us in this societal level moment where everybody from kindergartner through CEO has a lot to learn because a bunch of the constraints we're used to having are changing, that the core fundamentals remain the same. We are marketing to humans. We are working with humans directly, indirectly through machines, but the core jobs to be done remain the same. And I think that is an important grounding as so much ink is being spilled on like everything is changing. Yeah, in some sense it truly is, but in another sense it's not in the core goal of what we're trying to do. And two, just remember it's early days. It's early days in this version of AI. It's early days in a new medium with AEO. You may feel behind. Chances are you are not. And that the investments you make now will feel like bargains. I'll use AEO as an example. Think about how hard your SEO team works to eke out one spot on a keyword. You devote that same energy on AEO today, you will feel like you're getting outsized returns. Shouldn't be 100-0. And the third and final is because what's possible is changing so rapidly, just as Tim was saying, go play, go explore, go use it yourself, regardless of your level in the organization. You need to personally experience it because it is so different. Do so safely, as we've been talking about throughout, to do so in a way that, like, there's some things that came out, like OpenClaw was a phenomenon, but oh my God, the first version could genuinely destroy your life because it didn't have the normal guardrails that Tim and I have been talking about a bunch. And in doing so, adopt the meta pattern of asking it how to use it better. So ask it regularly if you want. Hey, look at everything I've done this week. What should I automate? Hey, I want to do X. I don't know how to write that prompt. Can you write it? Oh, how do I do X better with you? I feel like that, along with what Tim said earlier about having it be a thought partner, are two of the biggest unlocks in learning and using and activating AI.
Yeah, Guy, I completely agree with you on that. One of the best things I learned to do early on, fortunately, was when I was using it as a brainstorming partner, is asking it, what questions what questions do you have for me with the prompt that I gave it, right? So when I gave that out, then it started to ask me questions that it used to actually better its output and response. Whereas if I had just put the standard prompt, I would have gotten whatever it did. But by having it do that, by telling it to, go deeper with that conversation with you, that is huge overall. And I also completely agree. OpenClaw was this phenomenon that everyone's, oh my gosh, we want this. Not realizing the destructive power that these tools can have if you are not careful. And I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing that if you are going to play with it, and I completely agree, Guy, go out, experience it, because that's the best way to understand how it's starting to impact everyone's lives, because it will impact your life. I mean, I got 4 boys in school. They're talking about how to ethically use it, fortunately. But then you have Purdue University just had a professor that went and used an AI tool to say who wrote their papers with AI, and they had to admit it as a huge news article. And it was incredible, the pushback by certain students and the, statements that had to be, pulled back on, or apologies issued, whatever it may be that happens. That's why we have to be careful with it at the same time and use it smartly, right? It's there. We should be exploring it. We should be using it where we can, but safely, to your point, Guy. I love it.
That's great. I add one last thing?
Yeah.
You made me think with the school example. I have 2 daughters in school, and they each have stories of what I think is an under-discussed piece of AI, where they're students that are, in my mind, cheating because they've outsourced their thinking to the LLM. And they're students that are not cheating at all, but are rather putting a cape on their back as a superpower and taking off because they're using AI to think more deeply and learn more effectively and quickly. I think the same is true in the professional world, where you can outsource your thinking to the LLM, or you can use it to do things a lot more quickly and focus on the parts of the job that are more fun, that you're uniquely capable of doing. And I think that is something we all should be talking about a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a beautiful encouragement to end on today. And Guy, Tim, thank you so much for being on Lessons for Tomorrow and sharing everything that you did today about AI and its effective use within digital solutions.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Rex. Thanks, Tim. Fun to do this with you.
Thanks for listening to the Lessons for Tomorrow podcast. Find out more about AmericanEagle.com services and today's topic in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe, give us 5 stars, and share this episode with others. This podcast is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios, and we'll catch you in the next lesson.